So we are actually going to shift gears a little bit and talk about something else that you're really passionate about, which is sustainability.
Yes.
For our audience who doesn't know, there is reports that show that 80% of greenhouse gas emissions actually come from the supply chain. And you have mentioned that learning that number was like staggering for you. It really made an impact. So can you talk a little bit about, where this number came from, first of all, and why it's so important?
Well, I mean, you have to look at supply chain holistically, right? So it's anywhere from sourcing to last mile delivery.
Okay.
Some parts of the supply chain emit more emissions than others.
Right.
I think some organizations have become more intentional about cutting those emissions. But theoretically, supply chain it's a lot of transportation. And so a lot of those emissions are going to come from the transportation that happens just to be able to get a good to your door.
Right. Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
And so LinkedIn actually approached me during the pandemic to do the LinkedIn learning course, The Foundations of Sustainable Supply Chains. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the right person for this, but I knew that some of the stats were staggering. I knew that we needed to be able to talk about it and tell the story of why and what does that look like. Because if we're able to tell the story as to why and what companies are doing well and what companies, might not be doing things so well within sustainability, then we could do something about it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
as
of course,
long as each person kind of understands the role that they play within supply chain, then they can advocate for different things. And it's even small things that will make a difference. Like instead of, New Year's resolutions, I actually talk on my show about everybody picking a sustainable development goal for the year.
That's
And
awesome.
just doing something towards that, either daily or weekly or monthly, or maybe an organization picks one.
Right.
And says, hey, this is what we're going to be focusing on this year. Everybody decide from here what you want to do to help
we'll
us.
have to make that suggestion to our company.
Yeah. Because resolutions, I feel, are so negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, to turn something around to make it better.
Like I do this bad thing, I need to stop doing this bad
Right.
thing. Right?
Why can't we just turn it around to be a little bit more positive and for everybody to make a little bit of an impact every single day?
Yeah, for real.
So for businesses who want to prioritize sustainability, can you give some specific examples of what a sustainable supply chain looks like or how to implement that?
Yeah, I think that is a very big conversation.
Yeah, that is.
And that can
a
go
whole podcast
into
just for
a
that.
lot of different directions.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you talk about AI.
Yeah.
And
We'll get there later.
yeah. No, but I'm just saying, when you talk about AI, you're like, start small, slow down to move forward, figure out the one process that you want to automate, right?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? You have to break it down.
Yeah.
Right? What is the thing you want to solve for? What is the process? How do you dig into that? What do you do first? And what's the success metrics? So I think it's very important to understand, especially if you're going to get into sustainability and understand what a sustainable supply chain means to you.
Yeah.
Because it means different things to different people.
True.
It's kind of like the word ROI.
Yeah.
It means different things to different people.
Yeah.
Some people are like, it's got to be the bottom line.
Yeah.
Some people are like, well, if it takes some time out of a process of what I'm doing, that's a win. Right? So what are the wins? What are you working towards? What does it mean to you? But also, when you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, there's different opportunities to make a difference. And so which one are you leaning towards? Which one makes the most sense to your core values?
Right.
I think it all sort of comes into play, but your C-suite has to be on board.
Right.
It's going to come from the top down. But you're also going to need champions. Right? Who are going to be like, Rob, and be like,
and drive the success.
we need to do this.
Can you think of any real world examples of, say, an organization? Doesn't even have to be an organization necessarily. It can even just be an initiative that kind of shows that these sustainability things aren't just good for the planet, but they're actually good for the bottom line for your business.
Yeah. And I think really simple warehouses that have lights that go on when you walk through the warehouse.
Oh, wow. See, that is a no-brainer, you would assume, right? Turn your lights off when you're not in the room,
Right? I mean, that's a really, really easy way. Recycling is really difficult depending on the jurisdiction that you're in because recycling is different with the provinces or the states.
Mm-hmm.
They have different rules. They recycle different ways.
Yeah.
So recycling isn't necessarily the first option,
Yeah.
because you do have to do some research and figure out, what recycling means within your community.
Yeah, I think that's my pet peeve with recycling is they make these containers that are like, oh, those are recyclable, but not here. It's like the black containers, for example, certain places you can not recycle them. It's like, but it's plastic and it has the symbol.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy to me. I hate that.
And where we are, like glass.
Oh yeah.
They don't recycle
That's
glass.
insane to me. Isn't that the OG of the recycling things?
I don't know. So yeah, I mean, all of that kind of stuff can come into play, and you might not realize it until you start digging into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.